Good morning and welcome to the championship webinar. This will serve as our coaches meeting for TAP State Track 2021. I appreciate you joining us today. This webinar is being recorded and you will receive a copy of the webinar later today in the email you used to register for this webinar. If you have questions as we go through, please use the questions tab in the right-hand side of your screen. Once you get that in there, it'll come to us and we will answer questions as they're received or as we group them together. If we do not get to your question or if you have a question pop up later, we will have a Q&A at the end of the webinar. With that out of the way, my name is Brian Bunselmeyer. I'm joined by Robert Huckabee and Steve Perdome here in the TAPS office as we're making final preparations for TAPS State Track 2021. Again, we appreciate you joining us. It's great to be able to say we are going to have the 2021 championships after not having them last year. We're really looking forward to this year and what that brings for our opportunity and for our organization. We had 3 great days of South Track, and I heard the same thing about the North, so we look forward to seeing everybody. If we haven't seen you all year, we definitely look forward to seeing you at State Track. So we're going to jump right in to the webinar, and let's go ahead and advance. Let's talk about the TAPS website. www.taps.biz. If you haven't been going there, it's a great time to start. Click on the word athletics at the top. Scroll down and click on track and field. And then on the right-hand side, you will see the latest emails and posts where it says Track Championships 27, April 26th. We'll probably do another one today and another one on Thursday, just with any changes. If you'll click on championship information, we'll click on that big red button. You'll see that the heat sheets are posted and they're as up to date as we can get them at the present time. Your relay entries were updated last night. If we have a lot of changes, we will change those relay entries again today. And then your field event sign up, we'll talk about that later. If you have changes or to confirm, if you haven't done that for your relays, please click on that red button that says Relay Information State Meet. And that'll help get us a little bit closer to the state championships as we move forward. So with that said, www.taps.biz, click on athletics, click on track and field, either click on championship information or click on one of those web updates, and that'll get you moving forward. Robert, hit us with a few dates.
All right, Brian, thank you very much. April 29th, that's Thursday, the day before we begin. We'll have our team registration and our implement check-in. That'll be available from 5 to 7 on Thursday evening. And you can come there. We'll have implement check-in as well. We'll go over a map here in a minute. I'll show you where all that will be. And then April 30th, we'll have implement check-in again early in the morning. All our field events in our 3200 will run on Friday the 30th, and then we'll do all our running finals on May the 1st. Let's jump to location. We're going to be at Panther Stadium. We've been there before in Hewitt, Midway ISD. Thank you to them for hosting us again this year. We've been there a couple of times, haven't had good enough weather on Friday to have a full complement of field events on Friday and then running events on Saturday. We have a little bit of weather, maybe we'll talk about that in a little bit, but we're hoping this year we get a full complement of field events on Friday, and then Saturday looks good for our running events.
So Robert, if we do have weather coming in or storms on Thursday, we'll still be there from 5 to 7, but we'll talk about where that's going to be once you're on the map.
All right, let's jump to parking, Will, and let's just go straight to that map. You'll see our map here of the facility. Obviously, the stadium is right there in the middle. Let's start up the upper left portion of the map. That's the team area. If you're coming in and dropping off students, you'll come in on Hewitt Drive there to the left. That's the best way to get there. Turn in that area. That's a middle school right there. Turn right by that middle school. Go down that road. There's a big team area there on the left. You can set up your team camps there. You just continue on around that road in the area where it says coaches check-in and heat tent. That's where we'll be on Thursday evening. You can come in there, and then right across the road in red, there's a maintenance barn there. Our implement check-in will be in that maintenance barn. So if you come Thursday between 5 and 7 to pick up your packets, drop off your implements, you'll come right in that area. As you look toward the track from that road, we'll have 2 big tents set up there. Those will be our heating tents for our running events, and that's where we'll have our coaches check in that area, and then you'll drop off implements right across the driveway there. When you come in on Thursday or Friday to drop off your team, you'll drop them off in that area. Team area will also be available over in the visitor stands and under the visitor stands. So that area and the area designated in the upper left-hand corner, those are the only areas for our team areas. You'll continue on and you'll park your buses all the way around. You'll go around the stadium to that old Hewitt Road on the far right there, back by the tennis court area, and there will be personnel there that will be directing you around, and buses will park on that road and in that area over by the tennis courts, and then you'll be able to walk over easily to the stadium. Fan parking is in the bottom right there, and the ticket entrances are marked there in yellow. That officials parking area is for our officials only, so no fans, no coaches, no buses park in that area. If you'll come drop off and then continue on through, we'll have a lot of staff there that will help you get to the right place. Brian?
With that limited parking for fans, we sure need all the help we can get. Whether you're driving a bus, a van, a minivan, or whatever it happens to be, please make sure you drop off and move on around. Just for those who are dropping off your shot and disc, implement weigh-in was underneath the press box in the years past, and now we are over in the maintenance barn. So make sure whoever's dropping those implements off when they go to sign them in, either Thursday night or Friday morning, they do go to the new little barn over there across from the heat tent. We've had a couple of questions about registration. We definitely encourage you to come get your bibs and your packets on Thursday night. You'll get any updates at that time and drop off your implements if possible. If you're not coming till Friday, or if you're not coming Saturday, you'll have to go upstairs to the press box to get your packet. So Friday, if you're coming late on Friday, or if you're only coming on Saturday, then you'll go upstairs to the press box to get your information at that time. Robert?
All right, Steve, let's talk about weather.
Yeah, I got the short straw, so I get to talk about weather, which at State Track, usually the farmers are fertilizing fields a week ahead of us coming in, but hopefully we're going to have good weather. And go down one, Will. That was what we've been seeing the last couple of years. And let's go to the website, Will. And for weather updates, you're going to be able to go to the fan page. Our wonderful partners at Earth Networks will be having a Waco weather forecast, actually a Midway Stadium weather forecast, which they'll be updating throughout. And you can go back and look at that throughout the week, all the way to the very end. If something comes up, they send out an alert. And also, we'll be visiting with those meteorologists during this event if need be. So again, we're keeping our fingers crossed as we go through. Let's go down. On the weather, you can look at the Twitter at TAPS Track for updates, and we know that very well. So if we're going to have a delay, a change, or whatever, decisions are being made, we found that Twitter is the best way that'll be put out. So please make sure that you're checking the Twitter, TAPS Track, for any changes in the weather. What we're looking at for Friday, as you can see, we have pretty good weather coming up, partly sunny. There is a chance of rain on Friday in the AM, and it's going to be some gusty winds. We're keeping an eye on that in the afternoon. The rain chances go down a little bit more. We'll be keeping an eye on that. Moving on to Saturday, it looks pretty good at this point. And so again, we're hoping the weather holds out. We have a great event. We get on through, but again, make sure that you're communicating, you're checking Twitter, you're checking the forecast, and if there's any changes, we'll be getting that communication out there as quickly as we can, and just be ready to pivot, move, adjust, and we'll get on through the weekend. We're going to have a great event. Moving on to timelines. Brian.
As we move off of weather, I think the best news I saw there is that the wind's going to be consistent on Friday. So that means we don't have to flip pole vault and high jump pits right in the middle of the day like we had to do at a couple of the regionals. So I'm excited that we don't have to move pits. I'm also excited that we have good quality pits to jump in. As you go to the timeline on Thursday, there is no practice on site, and the field event areas, especially the throws and the jumps, are closed, as well as the pole vault. So Thursday, Midway Panther Stadium is not the place to come practice at all. So we're going to be setting up. There's a lot of moving parts there, and they're still in school. So let's please respect that. On Friday, implement check-in opens at 7. The big red line there is it closes at 9. If you're in that first or second block, do us a favor, try to get your implements weighed in on the night before. Please don't wait till 8:45 and expect them to make the heat as they go back out. That's just an awful lot of pressure on some folks doing a very tedious job. If you were at the regionals, understand that they are going to weigh them and they are going to be precise. If you come up late, they're not going to make the heat. So if you had a shot or a disc that did not make it at district or did not make it at regional, let's not make it 3 strikes and you're out. Let's go ahead and have you guys pull those early. So if you have a shot or disc, unless you've done something to change its appearance or done whatever they ask, please make sure you pull those before you get there. Registration will open at 7:30. That will be upstairs in the press box. The pole vault and high jump are beginning earlier this year, so we are excited to see that. Gives our athletes a little bit more warm-up time, especially in the pole vault before they hit with everybody else. What that also means is the other blocks are going to go a little bit later, so we're probably looking at a 6 p.m. end to the field events. Remember that those are a rolling block. So the only time we can give you is 8:30 for the pole vault and high jump and 9:30 for the other 4 events. Know that those will run throughout the day. Mr. Pritchett, John Pritchett, the voice of TAPS and the voice of track, will be there announcing. So please listen carefully or as best you can so that you'll know when those are coming up. We'll also try to do some first calls, especially during the running events on TAPS track Twitter page. The 3,200 meter run will begin at 5 p.m. It's a little earlier than some years, but it's right on track for this year. Well, as we bounce down, all girls races will go first. All boys races will go second. We are combining 2 classifications per race. So 1A and 2A will race together, 3A, 4A will race together, and 5A, 6A will race together. If you were at last time's the 3,200, unfortunately, we did not get to conclude those on Friday. So we combined 3 classifications on Saturday in order to help get us through and cut our time from 2 hours to 4 hours of timing and get that a little quicker. We are combining races. The heat clerk, when we clerk you and when we check you into the heat tent, yes, each runner will have a hip. So one set will have 1 through 8, the other will have 9 through 16, and they will be designated. Haven't discussed that with the heat clerk yet, whether it's going to be wristbands, whether it's going to be number on the backs, but we will identify each group and who you're running against. So as we move forward, 3,200 meter runs are combined. We're looking forward to that. We had some great times in the South. I think we had some pretty good times in the North as well. We're really looking forward to some exciting runs. On Saturday, 7:45, the track will open for warm-ups and exchanges. We are using tape only again, so as you go forward and take that tape with you, especially after practice. 8:45, the track will close. So when we announce close, please make sure your kids, everybody gets off the track and gives us that opportunity to make one last walk, as the officials will want to check it for any debris, et cetera. 8:45 is also when we will do first call for the 400 meter relays. We'll talk about first call, second call, and last call here in a little bit. First race begins at 9 a.m. If you know Raymond Pierre, our starter, you know that about 8:59, that first gun's going to go off. Don't be late. We will honor our regional athletes of the meet when we do our invocation and national anthem during hurdle setup. So we'll go the 400 meter relay, we'll go the 800 meter run, then we'll take a short break as we set hurdles, and we'll do regional athletes of the meet and invocation and national anthem. When you check in at registration, we will give you a card or a notification. If you have one of those regional athletes of the meet, we would ask that they come to the heat tent and then be out there to receive their award. We want to honor them for the work that they did in the regional meets. And when I looked at some of those point totals, are pretty impressive. The meet will run on a rolling schedule. So when your mom and dads ask, when is the 200? Your answer is, I have no idea. So we're going to start it at 9 o'clock. It is a running. We go through as just a consistent run, 1A through 6A girls and 1A through 6A boys. So it's girls first, boys second. Coach registration and pickup, Robert.
All right, thank you, Brian. Coaches, when you come either on Thursday evening or Friday during the meet to pick up your registration, you'll pick up a coach's packet. The information will also be available. There will be heat sheets. There will be maps of the facility there. We will also ask you, as we've done all year, to sign your COVID affirmation form. That will be you attesting that all of your athletes, managers, trainers, anybody, coaches who are participants in the meet, they are good to go COVID-wise throughout the course of the meet. Obviously, if that changes from Thursday to Friday to Saturday, please do not bring any athletes or coaches who have COVID or are having symptoms or have any issues. Unfortunately, we've had that happen throughout the year as you have at your school. So please follow those protocols for us. We'll have that information there. Pole vault certification, if you have vaulters, those forms will also be there at coach's registration. For pole vaulters, you need to take that certification form with you. You need to complete it, and then your vaulter needs to take that with them to the site when they're vaulting and turn that into the official there. I know at regionals, we just had you fill them out and leave them there in a box. We had them available for our vaulting officials, but at our state meet, because of the number of blocks that we have, your vaulters will take that certification form with them to the site and present it to the official when they begin warm up for their event. The student withdrawal from the meet, those are still available, and certainly you can do that throughout the meet if that's necessary. Same with relay changes, that form is online, but if you have changes the day before, the day of, or even during the meet, get that information to us and we'll get that into the system and make sure everything is good to go. With regard to withdrawal from the meet, for our regional qualifiers, we did have a time and a process where you could withdraw from an individual event and not participate in that and still be good under the fair effort rule. That time has passed. That deadline was on Monday at 5 p.m. So if you have any withdrawals in individual events from now forward, the fair effort rule is in effect. So let's talk about the fair effort rule. That rule is strictly enforced at all of our district, regional, and state meets. If you are in an individual event and you have to scratch or you fail to participate in a finals event, and at our state meet, all field event and all running events are finals events, if you have to withdraw or scratch, then you cannot participate in any other events during that meet for the remainder of the meet. If you have issues about that, reach out to us here in the office. We can help you walk through that. If you have issues on the day of the meet and you need to withdraw an athlete for injury or illness or other purposes, be sure to let us know so we can let the officials know, and also so that we can help you walk through what options you have, if any, for your relays and for that athlete. Brian?
Kind of adding to that on the fair effort rule, if you do have an athlete who shows up sick or injured on the day of competition, and you have them in additional events later on and you want to try to keep them, please come talk to Robert or I, just to make sure we're clear on what the fair effort rule is as far as a long jump, a triple jump, especially on day one, because those day one events do count. So if you were to scratch somebody out of the long jump, a scratch means they're gone for the rest of the meet at that point. So let's make sure that if that does come up or you have someone injured or ill, please make sure that you come find us. Let's walk you through it, give you your options. Obviously, if a student is hurt and cannot move forward, and you have to pull them, that's totally understandable. But if you're kind of iffy on whether you want them to do it on Saturday, I know if they show up with a stomach bug on Friday, you still want to try to keep them for Saturday. So let's talk about what that's like. Steve, we had one question on whether if you and Will would catch that real quick before we go back to stadium rules.
Yeah. Yes, it says, where do we find the link to the fan page where you had the weather link? So Will, can you take us to the website? Go to the home page. Yep, fan information. Okay, if you scroll on down, you'll see that the location, the tickets, the scheduled events, and down there is weather. Waco weather forecast is the link. Also, you'll see the live stream there for the TAPS State Championship. It'll be on TAPS TV, as well as the results, which we'll visit about here in a little while.
That fan information link is live. It's been in a couple of emails that we've sent out to you. If you would do us a great big favor and cut and paste that URL at the top and send that out to all of your families and potential fans, I think it has dang near everything they're going to need before they show up. So do us a favor and shoot that link on out to anybody that's there. I know John has tried to tweet that out on taps.biz, and we'll tweet it out again on TAPS.biz track. So just keep following along as best you can. But the more we can keep our fans in a loop, the better off we'll be come Friday, especially Saturday when they're trying to all get there at the same time.
And it will save you time on the questions that you get. So get the answers out there before they have a chance to ask the questions.
All right. Hey, Will, let's jump back over to that presentation and jump to stadium. We appreciate Midway being our host. We want to honor their stadium rules as well. Team areas, I mentioned that briefly when we were looking at the map area. Remember your team areas that you're allowed to have tents and camp areas. That southwest portion of Rice Field. Rice Field is that other field just adjacent to the stadium there. That's where we'll have some of the pole vault and one of the long jumps as well. There are bathroom facilities there as well over at Rice Field, but that big open area is an area available for team tents and team camp areas. The visitor stands and under the visitor stands. Those are the three areas that we can have team camps and team areas that will accommodate you during the meet. Areas that are not allowed, as you go from the the maintenance area where you'll do your implement check-in across the bridge, across that little creek there where the throwing events are. That is not allowed. No team areas. There's some nice shade trees over there, but there are some buildings there where they have classes, and they have some things there with Midway High School that we want to honor that. So no team and camp areas in that area. Baseball, softball area is just adjacent to the stadium as well on the other side. That is not allowed. They will probably be practicing or using those facilities while we're there. And then the jump area behind the home stands, there's an area there. We don't want tent and camp areas there. Obviously, pole vaulters, that's your area. You can have your stuff in that area adjacent to the vaulting area, but otherwise, no big team camps, no team areas. And then the home stands are for home fan, are for our fans only, not for teams and not for camps.
In that area where we're doing the long triple and pole vault, you've got 4 events going on in a very tight space. That's why we're asking for team areas to be somewhere else. Obviously, if you've got long jumpers and triple jumpers and pole vaulters, they can be in that area. But if you've got 10 or 12 kids that are also trying to watch, please don't set up a tent in that area, especially on day 1. Day 2, we might allow it, but we cannot allow that on day 1.
All right, stadium rules. Our home stands, those will be for all of our fans, and our visitor stands, those will be for all of our teams and all of our participants. Stadium entry will be on that home side. When they purchase their ticket through our TAPS ticketing, there will be people there at the entries to scan their tickets, their digital tickets, give them a wristband. Athletes will enter through your bib. Those bibs will be in your coach's packet. Those will be assigned by number based on the number that's assigned to all the athletes in the track database. So they will enter in and out for their events using their bib. Coaches and managers will have wristbands. Those will be available when you check in.
So a couple of years ago, we learned that when TAPS State comes right behind UIL Regional, sometimes the folks at the gate are a little more enforcement-like than they normally would be. So wristband for your coaches, bibs for your students, get them in the stands. Coaches, if you have folks that are coming as a manager or your trainer, students, if you qualified 5, but you're bringing 8 kids and they don't have bibs, we will be giving out a different colored wristband. So that will allow them to go in the stands as well. But if you don't have a bib, you don't have a wristband, and you're not ready to rock and roll, they're not going to let you in either set of stands. So just please help us and make sure that works. Stadium re-entry will be allowed. So if you go out and come back, make sure you keep the wristband. Sorry, Robert, jump back in.
No problem. Tents, we've already talked about where we can and cannot have tents, and then other stadium rules, outside food and drink, not allowed for fans, is allowed for your teams. Obviously, if you're setting up a camp over there on the visitor side, you'll be allowed to bring in your normal coolers and things that you have for your team, but not for our fans that are on the home side. Brian, let's talk about the running events.
As we go to the running events, again, the 3200s will be combined. We have thought about this long and hard. We appreciate the questions or the comments that have come in. There will be 16. We got through pretty good last year with 24. So we are going to make it work. Our starters are very competent. They're going to make sure the field pans out well. So for 3,200 meter runners, you are combined. No other races will be combined. Everybody else will be in classification order. One thing that occurred at both regionals, I think it was a little easier at the north because you were warming up on the infield. You will get a first call, second call, final call. If you were late to the final call and you're not there when we walk you out, you're in trouble. So make sure you're to the heat 10 on time. It's going to be cool, not hot. And you also need to be race ready. That means your warm-ups and your flats and anything else that you're not going to take to the track with you are left outside. So that is a difficult time for young people these days. They want to wear those warm-ups right up to the end or whatever, but all warm-ups and everything else need to be left outside the heat tent. If the group has walked to the infield, the student is too late, meaning once that group is let out, and they will lead all 6 girls out, and then they will lead all 6 boys out. If you're late and you're not in the heat tent and you're not ready to walk, your student will be disqualified from the meet. So we kind of worked that. We kind of warned you at the regions if you were late. As of now, you're on notice that if they're not there when we walk out, they are disqualified. Students will exit the track exactly opposite of the heat tent. They will go towards the big Waco arch. That's also where our trainers will be all day. So again, please do not leave a big pile of clothes outside the heating tent areas. You're going to have folks going into the heat tent area all day long. For our field events, if there is a conflict in the block schedules, please follow the outlined steps. And basically, I'm going to tell them to you rather than and whatever. You need to check in at both locations. Coach and athlete need to check in at both locations. Make sure that the horizontal events, if you have to get a preliminary mark before you can go to the finals. So if that means you walk up and you throw the shot, discus, or a jump, please make that happen. If you have a problem when you go to check in at both locations, find Robert or myself and we'll help walk you through that. But you do have to have preliminary in the preliminary 3 to move on to the finals. You can't waive all 3. You can pass later on after you've gotten your preliminary mark, but you have to have that preliminary mark. And then for your vertical events, once you're there at the opening height, the height the student enters and that progression keeps going. We're hoping we don't ever have to have anybody leave, because the high jump is in the infield, the pole vaults out back or at Rice Field, and the shot discus are a long way away as well. So it is farther here than anywhere else we've been. So make sure if you do have those conflicts, and when you come to registration, if you already know we have 6 blocks here instead of 4 blocks at regional. We're hoping we don't have conflicts, but if you see a potential conflict, please find Robert or I at registration and make sure we walk through that. The block schedule is posted. It is a rolling start. Again, check in both places, coach and athlete. We had a few comments at the South region about who needed to be there. I'm telling you right now, the TAPS rule is coach and athlete both check in. That way, both of you here. Don't just send your athlete coaches. You can send an assistant coach. Doesn't have to be the head coach, but I think it's always important to have somebody. Robert?
And we had a few at the North Regional meet. We had a few conflicts. The athletes and coaches did a great job. They found the officials, they checked in, they found me. If we were having to bounce back and forth, the officials got together. We were all pretty close there. It was easy to manage, but they did work with our athletes. We did get their jumps and throws in, but what we request is that you check in both places so both officials know you're there, and then find us and we'll help. We'll bounce you back and forth if we need to. We'll make it happen.
I think the great thing is we're going to have a lot of officials. They're going to be professional officials, and they're used to doing it at a high level, whether it be TAPS, UIL, Big 12, Pac-10, whatever it happens to be. But being that, they are very professional officials, and sometimes they need to see you, and that's what they've asked to do. Implement check-in 5 to 7 p.m. Again, if you are throwing in the first set or the second set on Friday, please try to get there on Thursday to get them checked in, or be in line waiting at 7 a.m. It's too much pressure on them to do it. Again, they're going to be inspected for weight, dimension, and defects. Anybody's shot or disc can be, even during COVID, you can use anything in the pool. We will have disinfectant there if somebody has to use a different pool. Pick up those that did not pass at the end of all field events. The girls shot, just as a reminder, we did have several 8-pound shots show up at the South track. I don't know, Robert, whether you had any at the North, but we did have to disqualify those. So implements, please make sure you get ready to rock and roll again.
We did have some in the North, especially those girls shots. Pay attention to those. It's 4.0 kilograms. That's not 8 pounds. 4.0 kilograms is 8.8 pounds, and those will weigh in light every time, and those will be disqualified. We also had some shots that looked like they were drugged behind the bus all the way to the meet. They were pretty beat up, and those did not pass at our region. They would not pass at state as well. So inspect them and save yourselves and your athlete and our officials the time. Make sure you're turning in good implements.
And pick them up afterwards and take them home, because we're not going to carry them across Texas to find you. Again, our host sites appreciated the donation, but make sure you keep your shot and discus and pick them up and take them home.
I think there were some algebra teachers that got some new doorstops, is what I would go for on that. Go on to pole vault for me, Will. Pole vault has become that special event. You will check in at the event. You must take your pole vault certification form to the event site. So when you check in, you'll hand them your pole vault certification. Do us one more favor when you get there. Please make sure your poles are appropriate for the vaulter. They're in good condition and they meet all NFHS rules and regulations. It's extremely, extremely important for the safety of the athlete that all works out. So don't fudge on it. If it's ready to rock and roll, if an official says it's not ready to rock and roll and disqualifies the pole while you're out there, if they see something or notice something, then their rule is final. So make sure you're ready to go. We will be combining some of the pole vaults. So if you look on the field event schedule, then posted on the website, then as we'll go back to that later before we end the webinar. But we will be combining some as we go forward, and of course some will go along. Our pole vault officials are excellent at the state level, and being excellent officials, they will take care of you. They will get you the rest and the warm up, and again, their word is final, but I have confidence that they know what they're doing. Our opening heights on the verticals for the girls, you're 4'4" in the high jump, boys, you're 5'4". pole vault is 7 foot and 9 foot. It doesn't matter if you did 6 foot or 6 at district. We open at 7. So we're not going 6 inches below. We're 2 inches below the lowest qualifying height. As a reminder, these are hard and fast starting heights: 4, 4, 5, 4, 7 foot, and 9 foot. Before we go to field event workers, I know it sounds like we're being harsh on rules and we're hitting on them pretty hard. The fact of the matter is we're hiring really good officials to run our events, and they are autonomous for the most part at all 12 sites. So we're running 12 events at one time. By the time we get to the running events, Mike Shaner and his crew will be there. We basically turn the meet over to our meet referee. They're going to follow the rules in the National Federation and TAPS is written. So we're trying to keep you out of trouble before all of us get in trouble. So I know it sounds like we're being a little harsh, but bear with us. We're there to help you. We want to keep moving forward. Your field event workers, I appreciate everyone that helped out at the regionals. You guys made it a great day, but we can't run this meet without you as well. So we do need help. You can work in your classification. You can't coach your athlete in the pit, but if you're raking, you can step back and give your athlete a little coaching and then step back and rake the pit again. Vertical events, we struggled in the South with pole vault. So pole vault and high jump, if you've got kids in that event, we will not start unless those officials are satisfied that we have help. We will not start the vertical horizontals, the throws, or the long and triple. So it helps if you'll get out there, help us retrieve the shot and disc. They may have a little car bringing the disc back. Hallelujah. We're all happy when that happens. But if the officials are asking for help, we definitely need you to step up. So we've got to have you help. Field event workers, we're going to go to the website, show you where that is again if you haven't found it already. And we look forward to you being able to help us with that. Robert, let's move on. Before we get to some questions, let's talk about uniforms. I had several opportunities to visit with coaches about TAPS rules and NFHS rules. So hit us with the National Federation and TAPS uniform compliance.
All right, thank you, Brian. Uniforms need to be NFHS and TAPS compliant. So make sure you have a copy of those NFHS rules, refer to those. And then there are also some TAPS addition to that with regard to uniforms, things that are allowed and not allowed. We always get uniform questions at all of our meets. I tell coaches all the time, if you will make sure all of your runners and throwers and jumpers are compliant, and everybody else will do the same, we won't have issues. Unfortunately, most of our questions center around somebody else not being in uniform and wanting to get somebody disqualified. Everybody will be heating in for the running events through the heating tent, and we will have people there who will be helping look and watch. Obviously, there's thousands of athletes that are going to come through in a short period of time. If you have questions about uniforms, reach out to us. The relays seem to be the one where we have most confusion. Your relay tops must be the same. If you have relay undergarments, if you only have one athlete, color really doesn't matter. But if you have more than one, they all need to be the same color. So make sure you honor that. We don't want athletes running in trying to change clothes because they don't have the right stuff on. We've had that before. We want to avoid that. We don't want those things going on in the heating tent. Just make sure on your relays they all have the same uniform top and bottom, and then if they have any undergarments, that those are matching if they have more than one. Spandex and speed suits are allowed, but if they are worn, there must be modesty shorts worn over those. If you have no modesty shorts, then you will not be able to compete. You will not be walked out for your race if you do not have modesty shorts covering those speed suits, those spandex, and those tight-fitting articles. Do not arrive at the heat tent unless you're race ready. That will be announced as they're called, and we'll emphasize that throughout the day as well. And then tops must extend to the waist, no crop tops, can't tie them in knots, those kind of things as well.
Going back to what we've had in the past, the way it's going to work, there are people that may slide by on a Friday because we're not going to be at all 12 sites when the athletes check in. If they get by the heat tent with an unapproved uniform, we will catch it before the end. Trust me, there's enough eyes watching. Our goal is to then correct before the next race. So again, we'll catch the uniforms. You don't have to worry about it. But if they do happen, we will have a conversation with the coach prior to the next event. Officials, we have great officials coming from all over the state. In fact, we've got several out-of-state folks coming. They are certified for the events they will be working. There will be curb officials for all events. So if you have not had that at most meets, we were able to have that in the South some, but there will be curb officials. So stepping inside the lane lines, hooking on your hurdles. Just make sure that you're prepared for that. There will be exchange zone officials for all events. In fact, there's probably going to be more than enough. Sometimes more eyes make it a little different than fewer eyes, but they will be there. And as you go through those last practices, just prepare your students to do the right thing. Don't worry about whether or not the officials are going to DQ you. Let's worry about being in the zone and doing things right. The officials' ruling is final and not subject to protest based on National Federation and TAPS rules. I had several folks come up to me and want to protest an official's call at the South region. Robert, I don't know if you had any of that in the North, but we definitely had it down there. So I just want to walk through real quick, a quick review of the protest. So you can appeal by National Federation rule a misapplication of rules, a correction or clerical error, a correction of meet results, or a procedural error. So basically, those are rules that are written in the National Federation rule book, and you're going to have to quote the rule that was violated. It's not subject to appeal or judgment decisions pertaining to violations or alleged violations, the decision of a finish line judge or timers unless it meets the appeal conditions above, and whether a start is fair or legal is up to the meet referee and Mr. Starter and Mr. or Miss Backup Starter. And TAPS rules say section 134 say a protest based on a game official's decision will not be considered. So basically what we're saying is if you get called out of the zone, unless they went to the wrong mark or there's a procedural error, you're not going to be able to protest that call. Robert and I on game day, on Saturday, will be down at the finish line. If you think you have a protest, please feel free to come up and visit with us, and then we will get you with Mike. Unfortunately, every now and then we do have disqualifications. So if you hear your name called, you'll know what that's about on Saturday, more likely than not. It is not a protest if it's a bang, bang finish. If you want to check the film, we will try to allow that as best as possible, but it's not going to happen immediate. So again, if you have a situation like that, it is not a protest, but if you get our attention, Robert and I will surely try to make sure that we can accommodate you. Robert, your thoughts on protests?
No, we have great officials, great timers. We did have a couple of issues in the North where it was bang, bang, and a coach asked to look at it just to verify it, and we will gladly accommodate that. But like Brian mentioned, the meet will keep going, so we'll get you. We'll take a look at it. We'll make sure that you've seen what the timer saw and what the final results reflect. So if you need that, find us. We'll help you walk through that. Otherwise, no video, no replay, no anything like that. We always have people come and say, hey, this parent has a video. Can you look at this? Rules don't allow that. But if it's a finish line, bang, bang finish, we will look at that with you and for you to make sure that you see, your athlete knows, and then everyone involved knows, yes, that's what it was, and I saw it for myself. That'll only be the coach, but we will allow the coach to do that. Yeah, find me or find Brian, and we'll help you walk through that on the day of the meet.
Okay. All right, results. During the meet, the live results, the unofficial results can be found at www.wahoo-sports.com. So you'll be able to watch that for the live results coming in. Those are the unofficial results. And then for the official results will be on the track championship page after the conclusion of the meet. So you'll be able to keep up with it live and be able to go review it afterwards. Brian, what's the difference between official and unofficial?
So meet results do not go official until 30 minutes after the event. That allows for a protest or a review. So as those results are going live, as our timers input them and as they go forward, you're basically seeing the raw data. So just remind your parents that they may see something, but it may change before the official ending. Again, those on the official results, it'll be after the meet. So we're looking more like 6 or 7 o'clock. We'll put the PDF of all the official results on the backside. If you have newspaper or media looking, please move into that track championship page. You can share the live results as well. But if you've got stringers or whatever from the media or from the television station that are following you, please move them to that championship page where it has the official results. Robert, let's walk through awards real quick.
All right. Awards at all of our track championships will be, points will be awarded through the 8th place in all events, according to our bylaws. Individual event and relay awards, the top 3 finishers will be given awards. Team awards for each division, boys and girls, will be 1st through 4th place. And then there will be a state athlete of the meet. Those points will be accumulated throughout the meet, and that will be awarded for the state championship as well. And then remember, after our meet is over, the week following our meet will be the deadline for Academic All-State. You qualify for Academic All-State in track and field. If you are a state qualifier, That's in an individual event or relay, not alternate, but an actual event or relay. You are a junior or senior, and you have a cumulative GPA of 90 or above. So how and when do we get our awards? Well, if you're individual medals, if you win an individual event first through third, we'll receive medals, gold, silver, and bronze. If you're in a field event or the 3,200 on day one, those top 3 medals will be presented at the event. So if you're in shot, as soon as that's over, the official will read the results. Those 3 medals will be there at the site, and the official will award those medals at all of the field events. And then in our 3,200 on that evening, those will be given to the runners as they finish the race. So on day one, all individual medals will be awarded at the event as soon as it's over. On day 2, for your running results, those will be available at, like Brian said, approximately 30 minutes after the conclusion of the event. And then there will be an awards tent that will be on the visitor side near the concession stand over on the visitor side. We'll have a TAPS awards tent set up over there. For your individual events and your relay awards, top 3 finishers, again, you'll go over there and pick up your medals directly from our staff there at that event. And then the athlete of the meet for our state meet, that will be during the team awards presentation. And our team awards, top 4 teams in each division, boys and girls, will be presented at the conclusion of the meet.
So your regional athletes of the meet, when you check in and register, you'll be notified if you have one of those students. So we're not going to publish it ahead of time, but you will know it when you get there. So when you register, you'll get a card that says, hey, please have so-and-so be on the infield at this time. And it's not an award, but it is a reward. So for those of you helping, again, we will have hats just like we have in the past at the field event. So if you're a field event worker, not only are the kids going to get their medals, but you ought to get your hats as we move through.
Okay, we got another question. Where are shot and discus located?
So we will have a map with all of the locations. So you will have shot and disc. It's not on the map we have posted, so we will post another map. Shot and disc are outside on the north side of the stadium across the creek. Can't miss them. They'll have the shot cages or backstops, and you'll also have that. It's down there in the field just across the street from Midway High School. So we will update that map. Good question. We'll get those maps updated on the website. You can look for that track update somewhere about 3 or 4 o'clock this afternoon. It'll have that map on there as well.
Okay, relay changes. What happens if a relay change is not received by noon today?
If it's not received by noon today, the official meet program will not be updated with the students' names. Anything after that, you will then, when you get on site, fill out a relay change card. If you do have to make a change during the meet, has to be before the relay. We'll also have relay change cards available for you, and those changes will all either on registration Thursday night, during the day on Friday, you can go into the press box, and on Saturday to the press box as well.
Okay, we already spoke about the weather, but what if it starts raining? Kind of what is the way that we approach the
We're
weather?
going to do delay and hold. Our goal is to once again get all the way through field events in the 3,200 on Friday. Follow TAPS Biz Track on Twitter. We'll be updating. We'll try to give a far enough advance. We're not going to do 30 minutes. We'll probably do a little more because we definitely have to get the throwing rings and the runway surfaces dried. Robert, thoughts on that?
We've done this many times before. We're not necessarily experts at it, but we've seen it done a lot of different ways. We've got a great staff there. We've got great officials. We will continue. If it's safe, if it's not safe, we'll stop and we'll hold until it is safe. For our field events and running events, we will make sure that the surfaces are good to go and they're safe to compete. And if they are, we'll continue. Obviously, we'll use Twitter as our notification to let you know. We've had events where we've had to hold for an hour or two and then resume. And then we've had events where we've held for a while and then had to move on to the next day.
And if we do have to hold, if we do have to make that decision, once we give control over to our meet referee, the meet referee and the officials at the event have the final say on when we stop and when we go forward. So it's their decision once we get started, once we turn the meet over to them. So we will be working in conjunction with them in the event of bad weather.
Okay, another question is, where is the warm-up area for the athletes that are going to be running on Saturday?
The warm-up area is Rice Field, so it's right there by the team area. They will warm up in Rice Field, and they will make the way down that alley towards the heat tent.
Okay, another question about filming field event tries and review with the athlete and coach. How are we going to address that?
We're going to follow the National Federation rules. Our setup with Tom Hill and Doyle and the officials, they will have an official coach's box marked. You may be in that coach's box to film, and then you can go see your athlete and make sure that happens. Again, make sure you check in with the official, make sure they can tell you where that is and how that's going to work. If you are in the interior, there's 3 jump lanes behind the press box. Somebody's going to be on that 3rd lane on the inside. Make sure we discuss with that official exactly where you can be to coach so that you're not interfering with the other 2 lanes. Again, on the pole vault, we want to make sure that everybody's not crowded around. So make sure your coaches are there, but let's not have everybody stand right there by the pit. They'll have, we need help, but we don't need everybody's help.
Okay. How early can we get to the meet and set up camp areas? Because again, we're going to be on a school campus.
If you want to come Thursday night during that registration from 5 to 7 and set up your tents or whatever, I think that's fine. If you want to get there prior to school, prior to that 7:15 or whatever on 7 o'clock implement drop off, anytime after 7 would be fine.
Okay, and again, that's not a fenced in area, so it is in the open. So whatever you leave there, you're leaving it out. How are we going to handle mask or the COVID aspects of this?
We're going to ask you to wear a mask when you're in confined areas. We're going to ask our spectators, but however, when you see the new CDC rules saying when you're outside and you've had your vaccination, a mask is not required. So now that we have 2 or 3 different operating rules, it's going to be hard to enforce. So our view on mask is you take care of your folks and other folks will take care of themselves. So follow your school rules. If you need to wear a mask, wear a mask. If it's advisable to wear a mask, wear a mask. Our staff will be wearing masks. I think most of the officials we saw when they were in close contact were wearing masks as well.
Okay, if I missed this, if someone comes in late and didn't get everything, how can they get a copy of what we did today with the webinar?
Anyone that registered for the webinar, you'll get a copy of this, a MP4. It'll also be on the TAPS YouTube channel. That'll be sent out later today once it's converted.
Okay. If there's any more questions, there's a few that we're going to get back with people directly. Also some that are kind of detailed or specific. Again, you can go to info@taps.biz or give us a call in the office for any of those questions. Guys, is there anything else you want to add?
I'm just excited. I was really excited to be able to get out and see regional track. It is a reward for what we do here in the office to see athletes compete. We're all coaches. We've all been there. I think a part of our heart still misses being out there and encouraging the young men and women. We really appreciate what you do for the young men and women of TAPS. They're our kids as well. So we really appreciate what you're doing. Professional integrity, we're professionals, you're professionals, and the officials are professionals. So let's walk through it. Let's be on our best behavior when we get there. And as we advance. If you have questions, again, please email them to info@taps.biz. Keep checking www.taps.biz. Keep checking that championship page. Keep checking your emails, as we'll send a couple of more emails out as the day goes on. And either your trainer, assistant coach, or you, please make sure you're monitoring TAPS.biz track, because that's where we will be pushing out. Once we get there and the meet starts, that's where we'll be pushing out information throughout the day. If you have pictures, if you have stuff as well, help us with our social media and tag TAPS.biz track as well. Steve, you had another question?
Yeah, one good question that we have not covered is where can coaches be? Can they be on the infield?
No coaches on the infield. You'll be able to be on the fence on the south end of the track, away from the scoreboard. You'll be able to be on that curve. No coaches, nobody else on the infield other than the runners and the officials and our trainers.
Yeah, so it's will be a little bit different from regionals, and just kind of be aware of that as you're going into that event.
As your athletes exit, they'll go back through the training tent. If you do need trainers, Jody and his crew from Southwestern Medical will be there both days, so both prior to and again. To get there, they'll have to have their bid number on, but if you need trainer access prior to an event or post-event, if we have a major incident, we hope we never have one, but if we do, they'll be taken to that trainer tent, and of course, you'll be allowed access over there. Just make sure you got your wristbands on, et cetera. If you have your trainer on site, They're not going to be allowed on the infield either. They can definitely be over there by the trainer's tent. If something does happen, then they can definitely take care of your athletes in conjunction with the folks that we have there. So your trainers probably need to check in with our trainers. Just let everybody know we have trainer access there. Steve, do we have any more questions as we continue to move forward, or are we pretty well done?
No, and I think we'll talk about once we get this back up and you can review the webinar that we've had, and also please info@taps.biz or call the office 254-947-9268, and we can talk to you individually as well, and we're here to help. Robert?
Had a question here, clarification. Coaches, high jump, on field event day, you will be allowed inside the track area in the high jump area. What Brian was mentioning earlier was on running event day, no coaches will be allowed on the infield, just the participating athletes and officials. But on field event day, yes, if you have high jump, and there'll be 2 of them set up there on the north end of the stadium, coaches will be allowed. And as Brian mentioned earlier, there'll be a designated area for coaches that the officials will have set up. So you will be able to be in that area on field event day.
So spectators with wristband, coaches and team members with bibs or wristbands, you'll have to stay on the turf. You're not going to be allowed on the fan. So if you come to watch, you're not going to be allowed to be on the track. You can be on the fence outside of that, but our fans and our coaches can definitely be down to the actual coaching area. Make sure you ask that official where that is if you're going to video, because we're not just going to walk across the 3,200 meter run or whatever as it goes forward. Again, we appreciate everybody here today. For those that can't make us and are seeing the video later, anybody, if you have questions, info@taps.biz, our phone 254-947-9268. It's been up there for a little bit. And check back at www.taps.biz. Make sure you click on athletics, make sure you click on track and field, and make sure you click on champion events. We will post updated heat relay changes as of tonight before we leave. After that, the heat sheets will be as they are. Again, if you have relay changes on game day, you will be able to make those, but they must be there prior to the beginning of that event. If you have questions, we will be there at registration on Thursday night from 5 to 7. Again, set up, try not to get there, let school get out, don't get there too early. If you have somebody bringing you a tent, again, let's be judicious in making sure that we're not there too early. Again, thank you for your help. Thank you for getting us through regionals, and we are excited to say TAPS Track and Field Championships will be this weekend in Waco, Texas. Look forward to seeing you there. That'll end this webinar. We appreciate you again.